On today's episode of the Bubs T Bag show, the guys debate which part of the pickled pussycat tastes the best.
And I got to ask you right now, and this is a serious question.
This is coming out of the blue, so I'm not prepared for this.
I know
Go
you're
ahead.
not.
Go ahead. Hit me.
Would you ever eat a cat? Now, if a Haitian person were to eat that woman's cat.
Say that again.
If a Haitian person were to eat that woman's cat.
Thank you. Have you ever been to a cat show?
Absolutely not.
Go to one.
No.
Yes.
Bubs, after seeing this and reading about it, I got to say I'm against it.
Bubs declines to endorse a presidential candidate.
You know what's sad is Jean-Claude Van Damme was not in it.
Hey, T-Bag, this is Dan from Pequot. The crappies are hitting just like the big numbers on the Booty Chaser. Thanks for your tips.
All this and 80s action classics coming up.
Good morning, sir.
It has been several weeks
Nice to see you.
since we've last gathered on air to confess and
Broken
reconciliate
bread.
our sins. Thank you, Father T-Bag, for listening to me and absolving me of the sins of my last 3 to 4 weeks.
Go in peace, my son, yes. It's good to see you again. Yeah, we haven't recorded in a little while.
You're almost like a stranger now.
I know. I'm sorry, man.
You don't touch me anymore like you used to.
These nights, hours, and boy, sometimes life gets in the way a little bit of podcasting.
Well, I've said this since Jump. Cast before self.
The podcast, you mean? The Bubs T Bag show.
Yeah.
It's got to come first.
That's right.
I agree.
Cast before self.
Yeah.
Just simple. You should put it up on the wall. And then, crossed rifles and a microphone or something.
Yeah.
Skull. You got to
Yeah.
have a skull.
For everyone listening, thank you again for listening and being with us today. Bubs, I have a confession to make. I spent most of last night reading some very disturbing shit on the internet. And I got to ask you right now, and this is a serious question.
This is coming out of the blue, so I'm not prepared for this.
I know
Go
you're
ahead.
not.
Go ahead. Hit me.
Would you ever eat a cat?
Well, that's a loaded question. I mean,
No, it's nothing.
I've been happily married for a long time.
Nothing sexual or anything
all
like
right,
that.
all right.
No, I'm talking about a house cat. Would you eat one?
If it came down to survival, yes.
A survival situation.
Yeah.
Not just if you were hungry and saw one on the road and figured,
Where are we going with this?
why not? Well, Bubs, apparently in Springfield, Ohio.
Never heard of it.
Me neither until recently, but it's a town of about 50,000 people or so. Till a few months ago, when 20,000 Haitians were suddenly just dumped there.
Oh, nice.
Right. And now there's people that are showing up to town meetings saying, I'm seeing Haitian people walking around with Canadian geese held by the neck, and pets are disappearing. And apparently these natives are
Natives?
consuming.
They're not natives.
Well, wherever the fuck they're from.
Well, they're from Haiti.
Right. Whatever.
Voodoo.
Who knows?
Are they doing rituals? So they're out
These
slaughtering.
these Indians.
Now
yeah,
people are complaining about the fucking sky carp being killed on the golf courses by Haitians.
Some people are losing their pets, it sounds like, as well. Their house pets.
Easy pickings.
Yeah. And I guess I'm kind of wondering, I don't remember anyone ever asking me or putting it up to a referendum or some sort of a vote if I wanted a bunch of violent third world yahoos coming into my community to eat my pets. I don't remember anyone floating that idea to the taxpayers. Do you?
If you come to the land of plenty, which is the United States of America, and you're part of a governmental system of importation, don't you think you'd get some food vouchers?
I think they are.
They're falling back to what they know.
There's a guy that I saw recently on X. I can't confirm if it's real or not, but it certainly seemed legitimate.
Mm-hmm.
They were interviewing a guy who's gone across the border 4 different times in 1 month recently. And the reason he's doing it is because every time he gets across, he gets $2,000.
Oh, nice. Made $8,000.
This guy's made $8,000 in a month just by rolling across the border and, getting some type of Visa card or some sort of something that they hand out to these people.
Take me to your leader.
Yeah. You got homeless veterans. You got first responders that are injured or disabled that are having their pocket fucking picked every day and shit like that. But,
Broken.
Right. But this guy and his ilk are paid $2,000 for committing a felony every single time they jump over a line. And then some of them apparently are eating the pets of tax-paying Americans now.
Fat tabby cats.
And the one thing I thought of, Bubs, was this. I'm wondering what the sort of lonely, perpetually single, like overweight white girls who have 8 or 10 years of college under their belt and are still, working a job that really shouldn't probably exist at all in some type of social services type thing. I'm wondering what the kind of mental gymnastics she is doing right now to justify what's happening.
I can already tell you.
Because that lady, the only thing she does have, besides, her vibrator and shit like that, and a pack of bonbons in the freezer, is her cat or cats. Now, if a Haitian person were to eat that woman's cat.
Say that again.
If a Haitian person were to eat that woman's cat.
Thank you.
Does she become a Trump voter overnight?
No.
I think you're right.
Because they can rationalize it because of cultural problems, and this is how those people operate culturally. And now there's going to be... Well, Haitians speak French, correct?
Yeah, they probably do. I believe their history was based.
Well, it was
200 years ago. They killed basically all the French people in Haiti, and then put their clothes on and decided that they were going to be the rulers. And ever since then, it's been in a perpetual state of poverty.
We've helped them along the way with that.
Probably.
Yeah. Anyway, I would say that she would. There was going to be a pamphlet and a handout given, leaflets, psyops, with pictures. With lines through them, and it'll show geese, cats. It'll talk about domesticated animals.
And how we don't eat those in the United States?
Yeah. Please go to your local food distribution center, government sponsored, and vote Democrat.
And pick up your next food pouch with Kamala Harris's face on it or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, buddy,
why are there videos of this? Is there on the interwebs?
Okay, I didn't see a video of a dude necessarily eating, the cat or the Cocker Spaniel or, whatever it was. But I did see some photographs of a guy who's clearly Haitian. The photo looks like, screen grabs from a video. He's holding a Canadian goose by the neck, and it's, large and looks to be flapping around kind of in his...
It's Christmas.
Right.
The Christmas goose.
Bubs, after seeing this and reading about it, I got to say I'm against it.
You know what I have in my head?
I'm not for it.
My cartoon bubble is that there's 6 to 8 Haitian males wearing badge shirts or sport coats, and then they're carrying a couple of cats hung up upside down.
Yeah.
And then a couple of them have machetes.
Yeah.
And they're just kind of roaming the streets. And in the background, you'll see like General Dollar. Or Home Depot.
Dollar Tree. Yeah.
Something like that. The strip of corporate American, corporations and box stores, and then these fuckers are kind of slinking along the ditch line.
Yeah, acting third worldish and eating.
And then one stops and takes a shit in the ditch, and then the other ones are watching, and then smoking, cigarettes down to the knuckle, to the fingertip. And they're just doing their third world thing, because that's when anybody changes like rank or changes a job, you always fall back to the last 6 months of what you did and how you did it. So if you're a private and you get promoted or you're a specialist and you get promoted to sergeant, you're going to act like a specialist for 6 months until you
figure out what's going on.
So these fuckers are going to be third world. And we've had that. We've already had that here in Minnesota, and that was in the late to mid 90s.
Yeah,
so
with Somalians.
Yeah, they were tribing it up pretty hard.
I think that this is really not a good sign for the United States.
What about that shit in Aurora, Colorado, where you have Venezuelan or Guatemalan
gangs taking over,
running around, and then you see like some stuff in New York City and
Yep. And there's also the same gang that was in Aurora is supposedly it comes as no surprise it's happened. I guess they're taking over another place in El Paso somewhere.
You think some motherfuckers would just
I think that's what happens.
Maybe
eventually.
A flanking maneuver while there's support fire.
I think it happens. Down. I think it happens eventually on a long enough timeline.
But could you imagine? Okay, I'm in my neighborhood, and I'm at home during the day, and there are some kiddies that roam the neighborhood, and then you see a couple of fuckers come out of the wood line with a machete or a club, and then beat a cat. First of all, you got to catch the cat. But they, unhook the neighbor's dog off a chain, whack it in the head with a bat, and drag it away.
Yeah.
You know what I might do?
Shoot them.
Maybe put a couple rounds over their head.
Yeah.
Or at least into the dirt next to their feet.
I think that is a natural and justifiable reaction.
Isn't a dog and a cat your property? Granted, you can't just murder people for stealing your lawn furniture.
So you think a liberal woman or person in general is just going to roll over and allow their pets to be eaten in Ohio?
I think it'll be a mixed match. Some woman that grew up on a farm that hated her dad, who understands animals and loves animals or whatever, and has a cat and has pink hair. Maybe she'll fall back to what she knows, truly, and she'll stop lying to herself. Some of these indoctrinated people in, educational institutional facilities their entire lives, and they're 32 and a couple of cats, and some fish. She won't. But pet ownership is a rabid, no pun intended, phenomenon where people will spend thousands of dollars to save a cat.
I was thinking about this as well. I'm guilty of it. I'll be looking at news or something like that on X, or looking at memes or something on Instagram, and I'm watching this stuff, whatever it might be, that's taking up my time. And Bubs, a lot of the time, I realize all of a sudden, holy shit, dude, you've been looking at videos of cats doing nothing. You know what? Like 7 or 8 second clips of a cat, doing something dumb. And I realized to myself, I'm like, why am I watching? I don't even know. I don't necessarily even like cats that much. I mean, I like them. If I saw one and it was nice, I would like the animal, but cats aren't necessarily my thing. And it reminded me of back in the day, my grandma years ago was, since passed. Whenever I would go over to her house when I was younger, 30 years ago or something, she used to have Cat Fancy magazine sometimes around the house. And I thought about it and I was like, that was basically how people got their cat videos back then. You had to crack open a Cat Fancy magazine to get your sort of dose of cats. And nowadays they're just sort of like hoisted upon you, whether you like them or not. And one thing I've noticed is that a lot of people, whether they like cats or not, they still watch cat videos.
Have you ever been to a cat show?
Absolutely not.
Go to one.
No.
Yes.
Okay. Why?
Material. Endless material.
Have you worked at one or something?
No,
or what's the deal?
My parents went to one once because they were interested in getting a Maine Coon cat, a giant one.
Those are the biggest, basically house cats.
Yeah. And so they went to a show at the Civic Center. And I think my dad lasted maybe 20 minutes there once he got his bearings as to what the Maine cat owner is like.
It must have been all mentally ill, mostly women, but probably some closeted gay men back then.
It was flaming. And,
okay.
And it was not, there were women, but it was 90% male.
Just
over the top, something to groom.
Huh?
Yeah.
This is where they felt free back then, was the cat shows, huh?
Sure. I think cats are really cool because they are hunter killers.
They are.
And
they
they're
kill
in your
things
house.
for no.
And they don't
kill
give
things for no reason.
And they really don't give a fuck about you. But think about how cool a cat would be. Obviously, a domesticated cougar or something is, you never know what the fuck that thing's gonna do. But
yeah,
you take a cat, a house cat, and make it 100 pounds, it's gonna fuck you up.
Yep.
Where if a 100-pound dog, you look at it funny or get a loud voice, it'll back down.
I haven't owned a ton of pets, but a few. When I was younger, and I had a couple of dogs for a little while, when I was an adult. But the one thing I remember is you could be in a real jam at home. Like, let's say you're at home, and Bubs, suddenly you start yourself on fire on accident.
Okay.
You're
freebasing the old way.
You're doing Richard Pryor or something like that. And you start on fire in your kitchen. If your dog is there, the dog is going to start scampering around with the intention of something bad is happening. How do I help? And he can't do anything because he's a dog. He can't help you. So you're still going to burn. But the dog would, if he had thumbs and hands and could speak, he would fill up a bucket and try to put you out or grab a fire extinguisher.
Maybe you should own a monkey.
You know what? Your cat that you love so much,
it's going to watch.
That thing is sitting there on the kitchen counter. It's going to sit there and watch and maybe lick his paw.
Well,
and that's it.
I think what we could comically hope for is that in Ohio, I'm sure they have, cougars, mountain lions, bobcat, maybe.
I bet they got some cougars, yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's some cougars in Ohio. I've been through Ohio.
I tell you, I don't think it's good that those people are A, here, B, eating the pets, and C, they're going to be used as ballots
Possibly.
in a couple of months.
Possibly. You never know.
I'm guessing why they threw that's why they threw those people in Ohio, is to have
20,000 of them are going to. Is it a key county? That's what you have to get down to.
I think it. I
You know
didn't
what I
look
mean?
totally into that, but I'm guessing it is. And they don't give a fuck if those people go into a place and vote on election day or the week before or whatever they have for mail-in voting.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care. They just want the ballot.
Well, I need more visual proof. I'll have to look into this story.
Let me dig one up here real quick.
Yeah, is somebody's trail camera out there showing some guys dragging a nice Labrador out?
Well, here's a picture, Bubs. You tell me.
That's phenomenal.
What's that look like?
Yeah. That's almost accurate, but his shoes are too good.
It's a big smile and a bad sweater, holding a goose ready to be
I think he's
cooked.
got a couple, doesn't he? Is it one or two?
I think it's one that he's got by the neck and it's
Yeah.
just kind of flapping.
Some good hunting.
Good hunting.
You can find some beaver down by the river.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you probably can.
Sure.
I wonder if those guys would eat that. I don't think I'd.
Well, the French had beavers, I guess you could say, certified by the Vatican back when there was the voyageurs through Canada as fish, so they could eat them on Friday.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No kidding, huh?
Yeah, during Lent.
I wonder what that animal tastes like. I bet it's not good at all. I mean, if you're starving and out in the middle of
Makes a nice hat.
an explorer type situation,
Yeah,
it
you're going to
probably
eat
tastes
everything.
great.
Yeah.
This reminds me of something else that I saw on.
Okay, is this
the
another
internet.
subject, the interwebs?
A little bit, yeah. I just want to say there's this guy I saw on Instagram recently who his thing is he's got like a custom built cooker. It's like the size of a trailer, like a barbecue cooker.
Are we?
It-
Is he in Ohio too?
no. Let me describe it for you. The man's from South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
He has an accent.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of wears bibs most of the time, it looks like. And
I'm not afraid of a good pair of bibs.
nope, this guy looks like he knows his way around roadkill. he looks Southern born and bred type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got this big trailer that he hooks up to a propane cylinder and then heats up this oil in it. And then he drops this large tray that he lowers down by like a pulley crank into the oil. Most of the time he's frying chicken, but there's other times where he's making snake, rabbits. And the other day I saw this dude cooking what he was calling was raccoon stew or coon stew.
Isn't up here it's called booyah?
Yeah, I think it is.
Right?
Yeah.
The
You can
booyah
put
in St. Paul?
Any type of meat in there
Yeah.
that you got type thing. Well, this dude was using raccoon, and I got to say, Bubs, it was one of the more unappetizing things I've ever seen in my entire life.
Gray and gristly looking,
Yeah,
greasy
it
meat.
looked really awful.
You ever had squirrel?
No, I don't think I have.
Okay, I have. And
Is it gross?
I think there are people that know how to cook it, probably. You probably make a stew or something out of it, but I've had it, pan fried or over a fire where we ate it.
Fresh right off the spit type thing?
Yeah. And it's
And
just chewy and
not-
fucking
not
fire.
the-
Yeah, it's just chewy and tough.
Yeah. I guess
There's probably not enough salt.
I'm betting there's some native dudes up in Mille Lacs that probably know how to make a decent squirrel stew because I think
Well,
it's,
you know,
I think
we-
it's a thing with some of those
Yeah,
guys.
we've talked about recent immigrants who've come to this country. The Hmong
Yeah.
came here in the late 70s and 80s, and there's certain public wildlife areas that you can hunt that are no longer full of birds or
Yeah,
squirrels
they're-
because they go in and clean them out.
Somewhat barren. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know they can cook a squirrel.
They can cook a lot of things. I talked to a dude that I used to work with years ago that was Hmong, and we were talking one day. This guy was good shit. I just asked him, I was like, hey, man, what's like, the most fucked up thing that either you've eaten or like you've seen someone in your family eat?
Intestines.
Nope.
What?
He's like, so I remember this one time I was a kid or whatever, and I remember being in my backyard with my dad, and he walked over to, he got like a pot set up or something like that with boiling water. And then he walked over to a tree and knocked over a huge-ass beehive with a stick and then took the thing, immediately and threw it in the pot of boiling water and covered it. And then, after like 5 minutes, he took it out and just started breaking it open and eating it. A beehive.
Was it probably wasps? I
Well,
bet.
no, I think that's the other thing I thought too. And he said he was sure that it was some type of like a hive that I think had some type of honey producing thing in it.
Wow,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
all
So
right.
I don't think he was eating wasps. Maybe he was though, but it sounded like this hive had honey in it, so it must have been some sort of a honeybee.
Boiled bee with honey.
I wouldn't do it unless it was a survival type thing.
I would try one. What about the stingers? Do they get soft after you boil them?
I don't know. I mean,
Right?
I'm guessing, it must turn into some type of mush or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know much about beekeeping.
No, I think it'd be cool to do. Last time I got stung by
I
a
read
bee, though,
about
my
it.
fucking hand swelled up to like a boxing glove.
I read about it because I was kind of interested as well.
You should do it out here.
I've considered it. There is a
You
little
got a
bit
nice
of an
little-
investment.
You could have tea bags, fucking honey jar.
Yeah, I know. There are people up here that do
Yeah.
that because I see them
Yeah.
right around now. They're for sale, honey for sale. Oh, honey's important, I guess. So,
Well, it's antibacterial and a preservative.
and
So
it
you can,
last forever.
yeah, you can. It won't spoil, and it's a preservative. You can put it in like with meats and all this other shit, and then it keeps it going.
Supposedly, they found like mummies that still had like urns or something like that in their tombs, and there was honey in them.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it was like,
Would you eat some?
no, I would. There's no way I would. But apparently, these
Take a little spoonful of the
Yahoos
mummies.
said that if you melted it or whatever again, it would be fine and edible. And I'm like,
you gotta
man,
try a bite.
that's fucking insane.
Yeah, try a bite.
Even Steve MRE on YouTube probably wouldn't do that one.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, he's now going to change his venue on how to, snares for cats and rabbits and.
Dude, that guy ate like Vietnam era sea rations like it was no problem. I mean, I don't think he ate the entrees, but he was eating the cheese and crackers and peanut butter and stuff like it was no big deal.
What does that tell you? It's made with fucking tank grease.
Back then, yeah. I bet it was like cutting edge food preservatives,
Yeah, grease from the tanks.
Ugh.
This is good.
Yeah.
I went down a small rabbit hole for a short time about how the internet's dead. Have you looked into that?
Not probably specifically the same one you were looking at, but I would tend to agree with it a little bit. Anytime you search for something now, they basically just give you the same bullshit websites that are like you click on it and they all kind of look the same now.
Yeah.
And they're all sort of giving you the same shit. It's really just a thing designed for you to scroll and be exposed to ads.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few sites, though, that are still from back in the day that still exist. And when you go on them, boy, can you tell, you're like, wow, this is an internet site from
And it's free and open.
15
and,
plus
yeah,
years
it's just
ago.
different vibe, isn't
Yeah,
it?
you're clicking around, and you can tell that page was set up at some point with trying to inform people something maybe that they didn't know about.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a JFK one that is old but is still maintained that has really good information, and there's one about like Jeffrey Dahmer or stuff like that. You know what I mean? Where it's informative, but that site was probably went live in 2005 or something like that.
Sure.
So that's one thing I've noticed. Is that what they're basically talking about? How the internet is dead?
Yeah.
That-
No, AI, the programming and how it's geared towards exactly you. It's advertising. It's all about materialism or a train of thought that they want to keep you going towards.
or
It's
trying
not-
to get you angry or something.
But I remember the internet coming into its, fruition, I guess, and how just open and wild and just
Yeah, you could find
you were-
crazy shit.
it was just mystical. And now it's like, it almost seems too smooth.
Yeah, I don't like most of the modern internet.
They say it probably kind of started to die off somewhere around 2015 or 16. It
Yeah.
was just done.
Everything started to get really shitty around that time, it seemed like.
Yeah, you're right. Politics really kind
Yeah.
of took a change.
Well, they were mad that Barack Obama was out. Hillary got upstaged, and we've been dealing with the fallout ever since.
Yeah, and then now it's been the slow, quiet rise of the Marxist.
Yep. Hey, we've talked about this before. We don't need to dwell on it, but I firmly believe that they'll steal the election again. I don't think that Kamala Harris wins anything. I think that they right now are telegraphing every single move to take states like Ohio that are firmly red and flip them blue through ballot harvesting.
Well, dumping a bunch of Haitians there is not going to help the cause.
No, not at all. And not only that, the other thing is it's impossible to prove election fraud currently. You cannot prove that it occurred.
That's right.
Because you don't have any voter ID. There are states that are actively trying to establish laws that make it illegal to even question recounts and stuff like that. So they've telegraphed this sort of game plan where it's clearly, hey, wait a minute, this doesn't sound fair. And they'll go, shut up, these elections are fair. And that's all they'll say. And then just kind of the door is slammed. It's a closed issue. If you say, hey, wait a minute, can we look at, no, you can't, but trust us, it's fair. Okay, at that point, in my opinion, your elections are no longer secure. Because if it's impossible to prove that election fraud can happen, it's 100% most certainly happening. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So, dude, I wouldn't be surprised at all if at 3 a.m. on election night or whatever, Ohio suddenly coughs up, 200,000 votes.
Well, it comes down to a couple counties, and that's it.
Yeah.
In those key states.
Yeah.
So that's where.
And people, boy, there are going to be people watching, brother.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. There's not enough desperation yet.
I agree. They need to be a little bit more starving.
You got to be hungry,
Yeah.
like those Haitians.
But if you start losing your cat, if they start eating your fucking pets,
Where is Mittens?
right? I think people get a little upset at that
Yeah.
because, boy, right now they put a real premium for some reason on pets. Any sort of thing that you're doing that doesn't involve having more children is considered very noble. And right now, I see it all the time on social media. I hate it. People will have stuff in their bio that's like, proud cat mom, proud dog dad. Well, listen, dude, it's cool that you love your dog or your cat, but that isn't your child, and it never will be. Some people are taking that shit to the next level, man.
It's because they don't have children.
I know it
And
is.
they haven't been broken by children.
And
And they
they're
don't realize that, okay, we had dogs before we had kids. And I grew up with dogs and whatever, but I was never we weren't dog parents. We just were responsible pet owners and liked having a dog around. Especially when I lived in Minneapolis, I had an American bulldog in the backyard. Good deterrent.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, I guess my point is the dog became so not even secondary, skip down to like whatever the fifth level is once you bring home a newborn.
Right. That dog is just,
The dog even knows it.
it's in the background.
Yeah.
Hey,
And
buddy, take
hey,
a back seat here.
See you later.
Right. Well, dogs are good like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes they can handle that.
But, that's adulting. And when I think if you're, 30 to 60 and you don't have kids and you treat your pet like it's a child and you spend all that money and time and effort, granted you're free to do whatever the fuck you want, my opinion is, man, you needed some kids in your life to just break you.
Yeah, right.
Every parent out there knows what I'm talking about, especially every dad. And
Yeah.
they spend any time with their kids, they break you. And the dog, hey, great. Maybe when the kids get older and you get into, let's say, a nice hunting dog or something, and you can work with your kids on that and teach them the value of owning a pet. But to spoil a dog or a cat, that is solely narcissistic for your own self.
Yeah.
It is your own ego you're stroking or a void that you're trying to fill.
It's a hole.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's a sad hole, but I'm done.
I've never understood the logic behind turning your pet into your child, putting clothes on your pet, and or buying like premium sort of people food for your pet.
Yeah.
That's another, man, that's a money hole, buddy.
Yeah. I mean, you've met
Can you
my
imagine
dog,
just
and
like-
I've got a great dog.
Yeah.
I've got the best dog I've ever owned in my life. And I've had dogs my entire life. And
Yeah.
this is the dog.
Yeah.
The one we've had, Linus, we've had him for 10 and a half, 11 years.
Yeah, he's laid
13 next week. He's the best dog we've ever owned, but he's still our dog,
He's a dog.
I have a responsibility to care for him, but he's not, wearing sunglasses and a vest, getting
Let me ask you
special
this.
rubs from a dog whisperer.
If Linus came down with something all of a sudden,
Mm-hmm.
and you went to the vet and they were like, I'm going to need $3,000 just to do some tests and figure out what's wrong, and then we'll proceed from there.
Thank you. We'll just put him back in the car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Well, so
We're on the same page.
when we got back from Florida, not too long after we got back, he had a massive seizure grand mal seizure that lasted like 3 minutes, violent on the floor.
Yeah.
11 o'clock at night. I'm sitting there watching. I'm like, and then do the classic stuff a wallet up his ass or whatever you're supposed to do for a seizure.
Yeah.
Right.
Stuff a wallet up his ass.
But, so I just kind of made sure he wasn't flopping and going to get hurt. And then my wife came down, was freaking out, and it lasted. And then the after effects lasted 3 hours. He didn't know where the fuck he was, who we were. I mean, he was doing stuff. And then the next day, hey, everything's good. Did we go to the vet? Did we go to the emergency vet? No, he's 12 and a half.
We're gonna
ride this out and see where it goes.
This is life, yeah.
Yeah, and then I started thinking, okay, is the ground, loose enough that I can dig a hole if I have to? And you know what? He's been fine ever since. He aged quite a bit, and it kind of banged him up, and he changed after that a little bit. He's slower. But, let's say it continued, and it was happening that bad on a daily basis. Well, we would put him down.
Yeah.
He has no quality of life. Yeah. It's not good on us.
You do the humane thing.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
And then maybe go get another dog.
I was talking to number one Gary, one of the guys who listens to the show, and we both started replaying this video game called Red Dead Redemption 2.
Weren't you doing that last year too?
Yeah, a little bit. And this we got back kind of into it, and I got to say, man, that's one of the things where that's a piece of media that is really close to perfect, in my opinion. I mean, even if you don't like video games, like I had my dad over one time when I was playing it, and he doesn't know anything about video games, and he sat there and watched for probably an hour and a half, just mystified at like just a guy on horseback riding through these vistas and hunting animals and stuff.
Yeah.
Even the hunting in that game, I told this to a friend of mine. He doesn't play video games, but he's a big outdoorsman. And when he does want to play a game, he wants to play a hunting or fishing game. Hey, what's the best hunting or fishing game? I'm like, I'm going to be honest with you, man. I've played a lot of them, and most of them suck. You want to play a good hunting or fishing game? Play Red Dead Redemption 2. It's a side part of the entire game. It's not really the focus, but they do it so well with the hunting and fishing that it's worth it just to get the game if you like playing hunting and fishing games. There's times where you're sitting on your horse and the horse will all of a sudden start freaking out and kick you off. You're like, what the hell is going on? Well, it's because there's a fucking rattlesnake that just slithered under your horse while you were sitting there out in the weeds doing whatever it was you were doing. Stuff like that will happen once in a while. You'll be riding through something, and I was playing it the other day, and this guy had his like wagon broken down, and he was like asking for help. So of course, I get off my horse, I'm going to go over there and help him. And as I'm walking over, his horse that's standing near him just out of nowhere kicks him right in the face with both back legs and kills him. You know what I mean? And
well, dig through his shit now.
Well, right now you have the choice of whether you want to loot his body or not. Things like that happen, or this weird, like a bear attack.
Sure.
That rivals the scene in like The Revenant.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Had a lot of fun playing it. We're still kind of playing it a little bit. I'm not playing it all the time, but maybe like an hour at night after work or something.
Mm-hmm.
Did your kids ever get into that or anything?
Yeah, a couple of them did. I remember it being around the house and then seeing it on when we were downstairs.
Yeah, did you ever watch it for a little while?
Yeah, maybe 10 minutes. But yeah, it was the vistas. I do recall that. Mountain scenes and plains, grass, tall grass.
It looked really good, and I don't know, the game's probably 6 years old now, I would guess. There is another one that came out this week called like Astrobot or something that looks like an actual fun video game. I'm going to try that one. But other than that, man, I keep going back to the classics. And for me, it's Red Dead.
So, now I don't know if it was the same company that made this one, and I cannot remember the name of it, but I remember my oldest son really being into it. And it was kind of it reminded me of Red Dead, just the way it was set up. But it was like a kind of this militia cultish type place out west. And it was like a family or something. And then,
oh, was this one of the Far Cry games?
Yeah, maybe Far Cry.
Yeah.
Does that seem right? But it was like I remember a guy with like a kind of like a receding hairline, and he looked probably 50 something, and
I think that
sitting at a picnic table.
I think that was a Far Cry game.
Okay.
I never played it, but I remember it when it was being marketed, 7 or 8 years ago, somewhere around there. Maybe.
But it was
10.
like a family cult thing, and it was weird.
I think that's one of the games it was.
Okay.
Never played it. Like I said, I've kind of dropped off the map a little bit. I think one of the best games ever made is Red Dead, and then before that, Grand Theft Auto 5. I guess they've got supposedly a new Grand Theft Auto, GTA 6, coming out possibly next year.
Do you think it'll be tainted?
I don't think it'll be anything like what the old ones. I think it'll be an amazing game.
Mm-hmm.
They're spending probably billions of dollars on it.
And technology is better.
It's going to look amazing. It's going to sound amazing. It's going to feel amazing. But I think the days of pulling up Grand Theft Auto and really just, if you listen to the radio stations or any of the stuff that's kind of happening in the background, it was hilarious because of how offensive it was to everyone. I mean, they made fun of everything. It was almost like a South Park type thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they lean into that nearly as hard this time. I think they try to make it more about story and, Red Dead Redemption was serious in tone with the story. I think they probably try to do that. Whether it works or not remains to be seen.
What is the demographic of an average? I mean, so through the 90s and, my generation, 80s, it was stand-up arcades, and then it became Atari and television. And then all of a sudden, those giant gaming platforms at home, online, late 90s and into the 2000s.
Yeah.
Is somewhat like my kids, they all were into it, and everybody's talking shit on headphones. And,
yep.
I mean,
that's kind of going away.
Yeah.
At least the talking shit portion of it.
And it was.
Oh, yeah.
It was full-on NFL sideline.
Oh, yeah. The most creative and offensive swearing I've ever heard in my life has been in Call of Duty lobbies.
Yeah.
But they have machines now, like AI programs, that'll sit there and listen to hear if a player said the N-word.
Yeah.
And if they did, they'll not only kick you off the game, but they'll probably remove your ability to, even play it again in the future. And you agree to that when you click whatever the user agreement is.
I mean, you're out with,
Which is why I don't play Call of Duty anymore, because I can't play it, Bubs, without calling someone or myself the N-word.
Really? It's just ingrained in you.
No, I mean, it's not that, but you used to hear it a lot. I don't know. Maybe I've outgrown Call of Duty, but I heard. So
when do you think that changed? 2016.
Started the tracks were kind of starting to get laid then, but I don't think it's really been put into practice until the last 3 or 4 years.
So probably coincides with the internet dying.
Yeah, it could be.
Think about it.
Hey, I agree. I don't disagree with you. Some of the stuff you bring up sometimes, Bubs, sounds occasionally half-baked. I don't think that one sounds half-baked at all.
No.
I think the internet is dead, and
how they can regulate and use AI or programming to regulate what you say and then punish you for it.
Yeah.
When you were coming into your own in the internet, you could do whatever the fuck you wanted.
Say whatever you wanted.
Yeah.
And the problem is that it left the hands of the nerds and got put into hands of people like, Nancy Pelosi and stuff like that, and people who have no business on the internet.
What is the interwebs?
Why somebody just called me the N-word?
I bet her husband can peruse some certain sites on the interwebs.
I bet he's one of the top posting guys on the cruising for dudes
with hammers, big hammers.
Do you like big hammers?
Thick hammer.
Do you like getting smashed in the face with a hammer? Yeah. Boy, that was a weird video. Man, he got clobbered too. I remember watching it, and you don't really see it, but at some point, the cops react, and that's when he's getting hit in the head with the hammer. And as soon as that happens, right after, you can hear him snoring.
Oh, yeah, that's a good knockout, isn't it?
Yeah, and dude, that guy's, I think he's in his 80s.
Yeah, took a hit.
You can't come, you don't come back from that.
Apparently he did.
Well, I mean, for
how much did he owe that little hustler?
I don't know, man.
He owed him money.
Yeah, I think it was it was some sort of a tryst.
Yeah. Just deep.
Yeah.
Big hammer.
I don't trust these.
You got a big hammer. I know you're the one.
I don't trust these types with
the children and the babies.
I don't trust the opinions of people from California anymore at all. Unless it's Tennessee Mike. I trust him, but that's about it.
But he's Tennessee.
He is, but I mean, born and raised in SoCal, bro.
Anything else on the videos? The gaming.
I guess I'm just putting it out there to people that, maybe you're not into that thing, but with winter kind of on the horizon, and if you're a little bit bored with, cabin fever or something, if you haven't played it, check out Red Dead Redemption 2, and if you have played it, give it another shot because, boy, is it entertaining and a good way to sink some time, I guess. It's one of those games that I think is timeless. There's, I don't know, there's a lot. Well, like movies, too. I watched a movie that I've seen probably 200 times in my life last week because a friend of mine who I work with was watching it.
Was it The Big Lebowski, the show that never aired?
No, it wasn't that one. Yeah, we've had a few where drunkenness took over. And no, it was not The Big Lebowski. I was watching Aliens from 1986.
And that was the second one in
the second one, the sequel to the original, which was probably 79, and Ridley Scott made it, the famous scene where the alien pops out of the guy's stomach when they're having dinner.
Yeah.
Very terrifying movie, but the second one, in my opinion, that came out in 86, which is, man, coming up on 40 years old now. Bubs, to me, that movie is very close to being flawless. And I had...
Is that the one with the Space Marines?
Yep.
All right.
Yeah. And I had a friend of mine from work who's in her, I think, late 20s watch this. And she's the type of person who just, I think, generationally has said, I have a really hard time watching old movies. And I think I kind of understand what she means by that because when I was a kid watching TV, a lot of times the reruns and stuff that would pop up on TV when, before we probably even had cable or something, there were black and white TV shows and movies on a lot. And I could not get into it. And I think it was some sort of generational thing where I just said, I don't know why I can't watch black and white movies. I think she was similar, but she got a hold of me the other night and was like, hey, I'm watching Aliens, and started, texting me throughout it. And I remember the takeaways from it being she was really surprised by how into it she got once the movie started picking up. The movie takes about 40 minutes to get kicking. But man, once it does, it doesn't stop. The other thing she said was she couldn't believe how good the special effects were. And that's the one thing I really tend to agree with now is you watch Aliens, and with the exception of a couple of scenes briefly where it's clearly some type of like rear projection image where you can tell...
Yeah, the scenery, right?
A little bit.
Yeah.
You can tell maybe for just a few frames that it's a model or something like that.
Yeah.
But that was only because they didn't really have access to any type of computer graphic type stuff at that time. All the monsters, especially the alien queen and stuff, those were made, they're puppets or models or life-size, figurines or whatever. She was amazed at how good the special effects were, and I got to agree with her. I think it's almost kind of the pinnacle of, movies as a medium, I think, are dying off. I think they're always going to be there, but they're not going to be this sort of cultural and social like powerhouse that they've been, in the 80s and 90s. When I was a kid in the early 90s, May comes around.
You're looking forward to that blockbuster
and
by that big
everybody's
movie
like,
star.
hey, what's coming out?
Yeah, what's Arnold making? What's Tom Cruise
Arnold's
making?
got a new movie coming out.
Yeah.
It was a real event.
Yep.
And that, I think, is done.
Well, it's over because of the interweb.
Yep.
And it's over because of streaming. People don't go to the movie theater.
Yeah.
It's not a date. It's not an outing. It's not, hey, let's break the norm of our normal 9-to-5 grind, and we're going to a movie tonight.
And the sad thing is the only movies they're really making now are these weird superhero, big budget.
Yeah, those are dying
shit
off.
Things.
Those are dying off now.
Well, look, I mean, Harrison Ford's about to be in a Marvel movie. I don't know which one, nor do I care, nor will I see it. But this is a dude who is, on paper, many times basically just kind of like disparaging Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
He was a huge part of that franchise. One of the most, like kind of beloved characters with Han Solo. He's told numerous interviewers and publications and things, he doesn't know what the fuck any of this Star Wars lore or any of the stuff pertaining to Han Solo and his space exploits. He doesn't know what any of that shit is, nor does he care. He did it for the money, and that's it. He could care less.
Okay, that's not a problem.
Well,
He's
I
a
agree.
paid actor.
Yeah, I agree.
Playing a character.
But now the guy suddenly, is, hey, I'm really looking forward to, joining the Marvel universe. Well, no, you're not.
He's doing it for the money.
Yeah, no, you're not. The same reason that Robert Downey Jr., who is Iron Man, probably one of the few Marvel movies where I actually enjoyed it.
My favorite superhero movie with Robert Downey Jr. is Less Than Zero.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Anyway,
Him and
continue.
James Spader. Yeah. anyways, he's kind of the guy who launched, I guess, the current Marvel, whatever it is now. Helped it get there, and then, a couple years ago says, I'm done doing Iron Man. I'm moving on, etc. Great, no problem. Everybody said, hey, congratulations. Last year he wins an Oscar. He's good. He doesn't have to worry. Well, now he's going to be in another more Marvel movies, and he's coming back as one of the lead villains. I can't remember who it is. I think it's like Doctor Doom or something like that.
Is that Marvel?
I believe it is.
DC?
I think it's Marvel, but maybe I'm wrong. I know that he's coming back to Marvel. I can't remember what the character's name is. But he's like, I read the headline, and it's like Robert Downey Jr. excited to explore the origins of, whatever. And he's quoted in there as being like, they came to me and asked me to do this, and normally I would have said no, but I think there's really some
money involved.
Some great, things that we can do with exploring what this character can do.
Yeah.
And then in the next paragraph, he's making over $100 million for this role.
Sure.
He's guaranteed at least $100 million. And boy, that had probably very little to do with it, I'm guessing, right, Robert? No.
And then his next quote was, crack don't smoke itself.
Yeah. Well, either way, I guess my point is, Bubs, is that for me, when I watch a movie like Aliens, I say to myself, this is kind of where cinema peaked, in a sense, for action movies and things like that. I think it doesn't get any better than that. Maybe Terminator 2 a little bit. I mean, there might be a couple other ones in there, but for me, of all the movies we've reviewed on here or talked about or discussed.
Oh, are you including Stanley's movies?
Yeah, I am.
I had a request, too.
I'm including it in the same league with Barry Lyndon, which I love very dearly. I think Aliens is way up there as one of the best-made movies.
All right.
I realize that it's sometimes some of the lines and stuff like that are maybe a little bit cheesy and action kind of, oriented, but the movie is still one of the most well-made movies I've ever seen in my entire life.
You know what's sad is Jean-Claude Van Damme was not in it.
I think he would have.
Or you know who I'm going to talk about.
The Muscles from Brussels?
No. I think another actor that we appreciate that's very underrated, John Saxon.
Saxon.
He could have fit right in that movie.
He easily could have had a role in Aliens.
Yeah, easily.
Any movie that John Saxon makes any movie better, in my opinion. He's the ultimate masculine dude.
Yeah.
Pure machismo.
Agreed. We need that.
Like me.
We need more men being men.
I disagree, Bubs. I think we need more men in the ladies' room wearing dresses and, going home.
I shouldn't even say what just occurred to in my
videos.
head about. I won't even do it because you'll just have to edit it out.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Thank you for saving me that, 5 extra minutes of time that I would have had to splicing.
Now, I have a question about Aliens. Have you gone through the entire versions of Aliens over the last 30 years?
Yeah, with the exception of the one that came out earlier this month.
Is
called,
it Romulus?
Yeah, I didn't see that one.
Not yet.
I might if it pops up.
What'd you think
Prime.
of Prometheus?
When it came out?
That's the one with the creators, right?
Yeah,
with
the 2012 one.
Giant white males.
Yep.
that are bald.
That have these striking features and stuff.
Yeah, blue eyes.
I saw that when it came out. I was basically, this goes to show you just kind of how far we've come since then, but I would still get worked up over something like that.
Mm-hmm.
When I saw the trailer for Prometheus, it was like, oh my gosh, holy shit.
The backstory.
Yes, I'm ready. Nowadays I'd see it and go, fuck that. They're not,
no,
I'm not buying it, whatever. But back then, yes, I was ready to go. I saw it on day one.
Mm-hmm. Were you wearing an alien suit?
Nope. I just went, by myself or whatever and saw it probably during the daytime because I worked nights at the time. But I remember liking certain parts of it, but also saying, this doesn't match up technology-wise with some of the stuff that they've already established in the earlier movies. It looks way too futuristic. The computers and stuff, I think, really clashed. They looked way too, modern, whereas the older ones kind of didn't.
The older ones look Star Trek-ish.
Yeah.
Right?
And I was like, you got to keep it kind of with that. You know what I mean? Otherwise, it just doesn't feel like the same franchise. I did think that there were parts of it that were really good. I liked the girl they had that played the female lead.
Mm-hmm.
The guy that they had playing the android was interesting. But, other than that and a few scenes with that, they call it the space jockey. The guy in the first one that basically they discover this dead alien.
Tomb thing or whatever?
Yeah, that's sitting in this chair and stuff, they kind of explore what that was.
Yeah.
Which I thought was cool. But there were parts of the movie where I said, it's taking me out of the movie.
Yeah.
Mainly when they land on a planet and then immediately within minutes just leave the spaceship and take their fucking helmets off. I'm like, dude, you can't fucking do that. You know what I mean? Like, you got to suspend disbelief a little bit.
What about now, you seem to be into the alien genre. What about the parent company of all this?
Oh, yeah. Wayland Yutani is the name of it.
Yeah, right?
To me, Bubs, they're basically the equivalent of a modern-day World Economic Forum or Google or Facebook or Microsoft.
But a corporation.
Yeah, and their hand is in every little fucking thing you're doing, whether you know it or not.
And I would imagine if you're a true, like you say, nerded out person that's into all the lore and all the backstory, that would be a interesting path to go down. And, people that write books based off of one thing in a movie and then go in a different direction, like Warhammer or something.
They have like reference books, nonfiction ones that are, written by fans and stuff that like really explore the whole backstory of that company. And I'd probably be more entertained actually looking at that than.
Now, what famous actress was in that one? Was there
Sigourney Weaver.
No, the other one. Was it Charlize Theron or whatever?
Oh, Charlize Theron. Yeah,
wasn't she in one of them?
She was in Prometheus.
Yeah, because that was her grandpa or something.
The guy who started the company or something. She was in it. I thought that she was completely forgettable in the role.
Yeah, but it starts giving you the background
a little bit. Yeah,
when he was younger.
Yep, and that guy ends up, basically getting killed by his own android or something like that in Prometheus. Yeah. The whatever turns on the
now
creator.
Isn't with Aliens they tried to tie in with Predator?
They did, and it was, in my opinion,
just too
trash.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want, this franchise is cool, but you should go back to the original comic books from like the late 80s, early 90s.
For Predator?
For Aliens versus Predator.
Oh, okay.
They had a movie come out probably 15 years ago that it just was bad. I saw it once just out of curiosity and was like, oh, this ain't it. Yeah, there was a couple of cool scenes with the way the alien and Predator looked. But other than that, it was just a bunch of, it might as well have been Friday the 13th.
Might have been Freddy versus fucking Jason.
Right, except there happened to be an alien and a Predator running around.
Yeah.
Yeah, so did you watch anything lately? I don't know if you watched Aliens or not, but
no, I didn't watch it. I've seen it, half dozen times. I'm familiar with the premise.
You enjoyed it at some point in your life?
Probably. Yeah, I probably saw it in '86.
Man, that would have been really cool to see that in the theater.
Yeah, I'm sure I did. Like I go down these rabbit holes of British TV shows, and then I found a comedy.
Which one?
It's called Man Down. I think there's only 1 or 2 seasons.
Do you remember when it released, or not really?
Maybe in the teens, maybe late teens. I don't know, but it's right up our raunchy, no holds barred, say whatever you want.
It is.
Yeah.
Boy, I'm guessing they don't have this show in England anymore because they're locking up Englishmen right now for saying mean things on Facebook and shit like that.
Well, they want to go after people in the United States, don't they?
That would be their dream.
But the show is like, half-hour little situational comedy where a guy who can't get his life together, and he's literally like 6'7", so he's awkward, and he doesn't fit in his car, and his life's in shambles.
Is the guy's name Steven something?
No, it's Greg Davis.
Okay.
He's a writer, he's an actor, he's a comedian.
But he's tall.
He's extremely tall. I think I know who you're talking about, that skinny guy. This guy looks like he could be a fucking tackle.
Okay.
Or a prop in a rugby, but he's too tall for that. Second Roman. There's some sideline characters, and one of the characters is his dad. And I recommend the show, just watch a couple episodes. They're maybe half hour.
Man Down. What's it on?
I think we found it on BritBox or something, or
BritBox.
MGM.
Okay. Where do you dig something up like that?
Yeah, the streaming venues. We'll get hooked into a show, then realize, oh, this is going to expire. We need to go to BritBox to finish the series.
Finish her off.
Yeah, because then I lay awake at night staring at the ceiling fan. So Man Down, I recommend it. It's raunchy and funny and vulgar, and there's a lot of cock talk and penis stuff and fucking titties, and the women are crazy. And
cock talk, I'm in, buddy.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, like this guy unfortunately, his girlfriend leaves him right. That's the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
And so he's devastated by that, and he's always trying to get her back. And then he was doing an online card for her, like for Christmas, and he was going to send it to her, print it off.
Yeah.
But then his dad sat down and wrote it and then sent it to her. And it said, Merry Christmas or something on there. And I'm abnormally tall, but my penis is extremely small. Merry Christmas. So it's something like what, you and I would have done at work to somebody.
Yeah.
Sending an email from them if they left their computer
Yeah,
out.
those were the good ones, the good old days, or maybe putting some type of letter or periodical magazine in their mailbox.
Sure.
Their actual mailbox.
Or maybe a nice sketch or drawing.
Yeah, drawing, anything like that.
Maybe on a calendar, desk calendar.
Maybe a Playgirl.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Sure. So it's right up my 8th grade alley of humor.
Yeah.
And if anybody out there enjoys 8th grade humor that I
Try Man Down.
Man Down, give it a try.
I may have to because, I'm running out of stuff to watch. I feel like I don't watch a lot of stuff anyways, and if I do, I go back to something that was made before 2010.
John Saxon fan club.
Yeah. You can't go wrong with them, man.
I have ventured out of the electronic world, of sitting in my house and have gone and seen live music a couple times lately.
Oh, yeah?
Small venues. My youngest son has a buddy that can rip on a guitar. I don't know if you've met him.
I haven't met him, but we talked about what's the name of their band again?
Castor Volor.
Yeah, those guys are fucking hard, man.
It's metal.
They rock hard.
They rock hard and long, and it's metal, and there's no ballads.
No.
It's driving music the whole time. And so for like Beesh out there, because they play in the hinterlands of Minnesota.
Do they really?
Go see them.
I bet Beesh knows these guys somehow.
He might. It's a band that's been around a while.
He's been headbanging to these guys, I bet.
So this cat that I know is my son's friend. So he's in his early 20s, and he tried out for the band. He was originally a drummer, but he can play everything.
Yeah.
And he's I guess the second guitarist.
Okay.
They have a lead guitar, and he's rhythm, I guess.
Now, is the metal music, is it like, hey, you can actually go there and sort of get kind of moving with it? Or is it one of those things where it's like the Norwegian, like, unlistenable, like, death metal where they're just like...
No. This here, let me paint a picture for you. So my son's in Alaska, so he can't go see him. But this kid comes over to our house, brings an amp, and just tears up the garage. And I don't give a fuck how late it goes, because I don't like all my neighbors. So rip it up, kid. Yeah. And he does, and my son's out there playing along with him and learning a few things, and I'll learn a few things from him. Anyway.
They're shredding.
So my wife looks up their tour, and they're gone every weekend somewhere. They've been to Nebraska, Colorado, they're down in Kansas, they're in Illinois, they're in Wisconsin, right? They're all over the place. And then
they're hitting the road.
Yeah, so it's all on the weekends. So they got a bus, they got a trailer, and they go.
That's got to be fun.
Yeah. Rock and roll. But so these guys got the leather on, they got the fucking like red and black leather, they got the big boots, the singer's got a giant cod piece. They all got long ass hair. Anyway, so we find them, they're going to play in Amory a couple weeks ago.
Any more about this cod piece?
It's nice. You'll like it. He'll let you touch it. So my wife goes, hey, they're in Amory. It's 40 minutes from our house. Let's go.
Let's hit it.
And we gather up some of our friends who will go play, some people my age, and we all go. There's 2 other couples, and it's out in the middle of nowhere in Amory. It's called I think the 8 Ball something stick or some shit, and some bar that's not even in Amory. It's outside of it. And then there's a big sign on the side of the road like Bud's Mud Bog down the road. All right. So we're in there, and the place looks like a double wide, but it's like fake log cabiny looking thing.
Yeah.
And it's up high and whatever. It's bigger than a double wide, but it's like a triple wide, and it was basically you walked in and went to the bar, and I was like, you guys got both type of music here? And the woman looks at me, I go, you got country and Western?
Yeah.
And she goes, what? And she did put up with no shit. What are you drinking?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so my wife was kind of letting loose that night, and, I was the responsible one. So she's had a few cocktails, and her friends are there, and blah, blah, blah. But anyway, this kid doesn't realize, his name's John. He doesn't know we're there, and he knows us. What I have to say is they start the sets out with Ramones, Misfits, and they're playing hard and fast. They're doing kind of punk rock, metal, early 80s stuff, and then letting loose. They do AC/DC, they do maybe a Metallica song, but they also have some of their own stuff they have written, which just sounds like metal. But it's a good time. But it was refreshing to see people playing hard driving metal in a small bar with people letting loose.
Yeah.
And it was a mixture of people in age, from their 20s all the way up to their 60s. So we bought a little merch, got some shirts, got one for my kid. I got one. And then just out of the blue, right? Hard driving, great time. I mean, they took some like alternative 80s songs, like something 13, I think it's by Orgy.
Okay.
Does a version of it, but it's like a techno song, kind of like an alternative, synth song.
And they rock it?
They metal the fuck out of it.
No kidding.
They do soft cell, metal the shit
Oh,
out
really?
of that.
Yeah. That
So
might be kind of cool.
It is.
Yeah.
So there's songs you're like, hey, isn't this soft cell? Like Tainted Love?
Yeah.
And the singer's up. I mean, they're carrying the guitarist around on his back. He's up on the PA system. They got a smoke machine. It's full on metal, laser lights.
Touch me, baby, taint me, taint me.
Yeah, it's great. And I was super into it. The bar was like 9,000 degrees. I was pouring sweat. It was a good time.
Castor Volor.
And I skanked across the fucking floor and did a lone fucking mosh pit by myself for about 13 seconds.
Yeah, you got to get the demons out, man.
Yeah, I let them out. I was high stepping like a good skinhead would.
Yeah.
And then a week later, I'm down in Illinois, Dixon, Illinois, for a wedding. It was actually, the wedding was in a town called Freeport. My wife just happens to look up Castor Volor to see where they're at. They're in a town 13 miles away from where we're staying.
Oh,
that night, Friday night.
Got to go back.
Yeah, and she's like, I don't know if you're going to be into this, but Castor Volor, where are they? They're 13 miles away. Well, load them up. Let's go. So my wife, myself, my middle kid, and his girlfriend, we load into the family road truckster and head 13 miles west to Polo, Illinois, to a biker marine bar. The bar is called Chesty Peas, which is Chesty Puller. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Yeah. He's like one
The
of the
Marine
most,
of all
like,
Marines.
He's like
decorated.
He's like the Patton of the Marines.
Yeah. Rose up through the ranks.
Got like
He's been in every war.
4 or 5 distinguished service crosses and like just everything.
So he's a hero, right? So it's a marine bar and a biker / dive bar. Kind of reminded me of the yacht club, about that same stretch.
Man,
size.
I'd like to hang out there.
Yeah. And you had to walk through the band at the front door
Right.
to go to the bar. So
It's a very Spinal Tap.
So
moment, man.
my son and I have on Castor Volor shirts and walk into this small town bar, and then I walk right next to John, who's playing guitar, and he looks at me, and I just flip him off, fuck you, yell at him, and then you could see the whole band look at us because we're the only guys with shirts in Polo, Illinois. And then we sit at the bar, and then they give us a shout out. We got some real fans here in the metal.
Yeah, right.
And then at the break, man, they come right over. Hey, thanks for showing up. Were you guys in Amory last week?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, fuck yeah. We're following you around like the dead, dude.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah, it was fun. And then they fucking tore it up. And when I mean a biker bar, there were chicks in there that had vests on that said property of.
They're wearing someone else, their boyfriend's cut or whatever they're wearing.
Whatever it was, but it was property of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you can read this, the bitch fell off.
But it was a small, tiny show, maybe 25 people in there, maybe a little more. And they did it like they were playing at the fucking Metrodome in 1988.
Yeah, they left it all out there on the stage, man.
They did. And,
God bless those young guys like that, man. That's what it's all about.
And the poor, if you're ever in Polo, Illinois, go to Chesty Peas, sit down at the bar, and it rivaled, if not exceeded, Stand-Up Frank.
A stand-up Frank style pour.
Yeah, it far exceeded it.
Really?
Yes.
Just
I
pure
asked
booze,
for
huh?
a Jim Beam on the rocks, and it was a triple
And that, give me
to the rim. It was
triple-
spilling over the rim.
triple shot of that juice.
I know. I
Yeah.
just asked for and the woman sat and stared at me while she poured it. And she was missing a lot of hair.
Just one little bead of
She
sweat.
didn't have a
rolling
lot
down.
of hair. She had some kind of issue, like maybe go to a wig, honey. And
I like those. You know what that reminds me of? Remember the lady? She used to be a bartender. I'm guessing she's probably since passed on. But
did she make a barbecue sauce?
No, not that one.
okay.
Nope. Not. There was a lady who would occasionally work at some bars in Northeast Minneapolis.
Yeah.
One that I knew in particular, they were both really, really, really crummy strip joints. One was BJ's. and the other was the Double Deuce. And
I think you're jumping to conclusions on Crummy.
when you no, if my mom walked into it, she'd be like, "Oh, this is dirty and crummy," and would walk
Okay.
out like that type.
Not
of thing.
the clean Seville.
No, not that.
All right.
When you walked in, she would greet you, and she had one of those talk box things on her larynx that was, "Hey, have a seat, sweetie. What are you drinking?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It reminds me of that lady, and boy, do I want to hang out at places like that.
Those, so I'm not.
I might make a drive down there, and I never leave, where I'm at now. So
I'm not, playing a lot of video games or, partaking in too much TV. But
yeah,
going out and seeing live music. I mean, you work in a bar, so
Yeah.
you get that shit all the time. But
once in a while.
man, and it was metal. It's
Yeah.
not some fucked up, hey, country hits.
Yeah, right.
Modern country hits.
Yeah.
No, they were playing misfit fucking songs.
Last time I saw live music was a couple months ago when I was working a festival thing here in town, and there was a band that was like kind of the version of, I think they're called like Hairball or Steel Panther or something, where these guys were like the bootleg version of that, the budget version of it.
Okay, all right, yeah. So they do 80s hair metal,
Yeah,
and then they make it raunchy.
Yeah, a little bit, but these guys, you could tell that they were all in their mid to mid 50s.
Oh, all right.
But they were still strapping on the leather pants, the like bandana type thing, and putting the scarves on their mic stands and stuff
Got
like
a little
that.
Tesla vibe.
Yeah. Even though you could tell that their glory days were behind them, these guys still put on a
good show.
a real steamer.
Yeah.
And I think the name of this band was Rock Gods
Nice.
with a Z at the end.
Yeah. We are fucking gods.
Thank you. We are Rock Gods.
Rock gods, ladies and gentlemen, rock gods. See, I should do
Let's see
intros.
Let's see those horns, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. Here comes Sweet Child of Mine.
Show us your tits.
Boy, I bet if they would have done that, there would have been some.
They would have been flopping
They
out
would have
there.
been hanging. Yeah, to some of the fans were about the same age as the guys.
What I'm saying is Castor Volor, ladies and gentlemen. If you're in Minnesota, Wisconsin, go to their site, look them up, and go to a show. And it's metal. And you're like, fuck. It's not just, you listen to 93X and it's kind of that hard rock, BS, bullshit, whiny music.
Nickelback bullshit.
This is fucking metal.
Look at this photograph. I'm gonna make me laugh. I don't know what the fuck they sing. Something about that.
I don't even know.
Something about that. Hey, I wanna be a rock star.
Well, these guys are doing it.
I'm through with standing in line with a piss bag bip and a boo boo.
You could have been on stage with rock gods.
Should have been.
Yeah.
I know. I could maybe still.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the famous Princeton podcast, T Bag.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, I'll definitely, if I'm in a position to do so, Bubs, I'm going to check out Castor Volor. And,
I think your first album would be called Fungi.
Yeah. To learn how to play an instrument like Prince.
Yeah.
Maybe
All of
maybe
them.
I'll wake up tomorrow and just, God will bless me with being some sort of guitar virtuoso. I doubt it'll happen, but you never know. A man can dream.
Well, how do you get to Carnegie Hall?
Practice, baby.
Yeah, practice.
So yeah, man. What else you got? Anything good? Anything coming up on the horizon? What
Well,
are we,
tomorrow is what?
Well, shit.
What's the date tomorrow?
Well, shit. It's going to be 9/11, isn't it?
Yeah.
I
Huh?
mean, well,
23 years.
yeah. It's crazy. It's now.
I'm getting goosebumps right now, just fucking remembering it.
Yeah. The crazy thing for me is that more time has passed now than it had passed since I'd been alive. Like I was 22 when it happened.
Yeah.
You know?
See that?
It really
Pivotal.
man, time flies.
But man, has society changed since then? I really think that's the pivotal point in American society.
Yeah, a lot of things became possible after 9/11, like the Patriot Act and shit like that.
Surveillance.
Yeah,
Internet's taken
technology
off.
certainly helped. Usher
20-year
that in.
war.
It's weird, man. Yeah, I don't know. Now 9/11 is like there's a million memes about it on the internet where
Building 7.
well, but just like people are making fun of it now and laughing about it. Whereas I remember, dude, it was like 10 years later and people were still like, "Don't you fucking dare!" You know what I mean?
Well, I don't. I mean, my dad still is not a fan of the Japanese.
Yeah. Buddy, I'm in the same boat with you. I don't generally think anything about that is very funny, and
No.
I don't believe there was much of a conspiracy. I don't think that the towers fell from controlled demolitions. I don't believe any of that shit. I believe these were
Acts of terror.
highly motivated.
Acts of war.
Yeah.
I tell you what, though, it didn't take.
And they
How
caught
long
us
did it
with our
take,
pants
though,
down.
for men in power? I'm using the generic term of men to rally around that to create a war machine and to create just an infrastructure of surveillance and an infrastructure of power. Think about how
It didn't take long. I
TSA. 2 years later, you can't even fucking go. I mean, how asinine is the TSA?
Yeah. No, like anything, it's been completely weaponized, and whatever the initial sort of like plans were to have
You
it
have
in
Tulsi
place.
Gabbard
Yeah.
being targeted by the TCA.
TSA?
TSA, yeah.
Yeah, she's listed as like a terrorist or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy.
So that's weaponization.
It totally is. The other thing too, like obviously by the time that this show goes out, it's going to be in the past. It takes us a couple days to usually edit, and maybe even more than a couple days. But the presidential debate is tonight.
Yeah, the 10th.
You know, it's a few hours away.
Yeah. Well, didn't we do a show right coinciding with that last debate?
Yeah, the Biden one we did, but tonight's is Kamala, versus Trump, or so to speak.
Sounds like a wrestling match.
Yeah. There was
Kamala,
a guy
the
named
Ugandan giant.
Kamala, yeah, he was great.
Yeah.
But that's going to happen tonight. And, we don't need to dwell on it just because it's hard, but I got a prediction, and it's this. It's going to be Kamala Harris has probably been given a prior sort of heads up on some of the stuff she's going to be asked, if not all of it. She has 100% rehearsed and canned responses for the quote-unquote questions. The only thing that might be unrehearsed or unrehearsable is if she has to respond to a direct inquiry from Trump and vice versa. My prediction is that she's going to spend the entire debate looking for one moment to try and get under his skin and get some sort of weird, like, little gotcha soundbite thing in there, like the, "Excuse me, Mr. President, I'm speaking." Like a couple years ago, she had something like that.
Yeah.
Where it was
in the presidential debate.
the vice presidential debate, I think.
Against Pence.
Where
Yeah.
substance-wise, it meant absolutely nothing. But the media jumped on it and went, "Oh my God, look at this is amazing. Watch her put Mike Pence in his place." And then she says, I'm speaking. Well, shut the fuck up. Nobody cares. What are your positions on this, that, and the other thing?
He should have put his cigarette out and went and slapped her.
I agree. But that guy is one of the greater, weaker men I've probably ever seen. You know what I mean? Like, just from what I've observed.
Pence?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the weakest men,
Yeah.
no masculinity whatsoever.
No.
He's on the same sort of wavelength as Tim Walz.
That's a whole different wavelength. Did you realize that guy went to China 30 plus times?
Yeah.
I never knew that. Did you know that
no,
prior to this?
I knew he had been there on like these teaching things, but I had no idea it was like that many times. The dude's a fucking foreign agent, like,
Well, he's a communist.
right. Like a legitimate card carrying
Yeah,
communist,
yeah.
like believes in that sort of thing. But no, I think her responses are going to be completely canned. It's going to be nothing but trying to either A, get under Trump's skin and make him say something off the cuff and ridiculous, which might not help her at all, but that's what they're going to be going for. And then finding that one little soundbite where it can turn her into a strong and independent woman, and then the media can then put it under a microscope and make it seem like it's something that it really isn't. That's my prediction.
Are the mics going to be muted?
I believe they are. Yeah.
Okay,
I
so
believe they are.
If Trump has the same game plan as with Biden, just let him kind of talk
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
look there calmly and kind of stare at him when he says something fucked up.
And then go, "What are you talking about?
What are
Yeah.
you talking about?" And
Right.
then if he goes after her, which he normally doesn't really do a lot of policy stuff, but if he goes after her based on some policy items, she'll just blah, 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 blah.
I think she will fold like a fucking cheap suit if she's called onto the carpet with any sort of, if she's provoked to giving a response that is going to be spontaneous.
Are you going to watch it?
Probably not.
I watched the last one. And I also watch the DNC.
I'll be following it a little bit on like X while it's happening.
Yeah. I'll probably try to watch some of it. I'll give it 20 minutes, 30 minutes, because Trump's kind of entertaining.
No matter what happens, she'll be crowned
The winner.
By the media.
But the media is not even media. It's a propaganda wing for the Marxists. They're Marxists
Yeah,
now. It's
but
Marxism.
Anyone over the age of 50, though, still consumes that shit, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, and believes it. I'm over 50. I have fucking nothing to do with it.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. There are some out there, but there's not I think you're in the minority.
Yeah. My eyes are wide open.
Yeah. I get all the news now from X, mainly because that's where it goes first. 2 days later, everything you see on TV news just got filtered through there over the last 48 hours, and it's been digested and processed by a cadre of communists who then say, okay, this is how we're going to frame this.
My favorite thing about media as a general is when these people online put together the montage of the talking point that every local news organization from NBC National all the way down to the small town news, and they all have the exact same words, the exact same talking points, whether it's NBC, CBS, CNN, and they all say the same fucking catchphrases.
Joy. Yeah. We're here. This is going to be a campaign of
joy. Joy is
it's Nazi.
Well, it's also Mao.
Yeah. What, really?
Yeah.
It was.
I believe it had
something had to do with joy.
Yeah.
So did
and Ren and Stimpy.
So did something to do with the Nazi Party as well.
Happy joy. Happy joy.
That's actually a great show. Yep. Well, yeah, I might watch it, Bubs, but my prediction is she'll be crowned the winner regardless. The only thing the guy really has to do is try and, I think, stay on policy and let her dig her own grave if possible.
But okay, so you do this debate, right? And all right, we're talking about the debate that'll happen tonight. Our show airs in a couple of days. But how about this? Looking back, I'm talking to the viewers, our listeners, our soldiers, our warriors.
Yeah. All 7 of you guys, pay attention.
There's a couple ladies out there too. I mean, some ladies. And did it sway you, right? I mean, right now, this mysterious independent voter that doesn't know who they're going to vote for.
I don't think that person exists.
No, they don't exist.
Not right now, they don't.
Right? And even if you're, let's say you want Trump to win. Well, if you want Trump to win, well, then you got to get out and vote.
Yeah.
You can't hide. People I can see on the other side don't like Kamala. She's not a viable candidate. She's not going to go anywhere. She's terrible. You know, there are people that'll just go right down the line, the D line, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Go out and vote. You got your choice. But I think a lot of those people are going to sit this out.
It's possible.
You
I
know?
think there's some that are so disgusted right now by politics in general that they might. And I don't just mean younger or middle-aged people. There are some that are old that I think are sick of this shit too. I can speak from experience, you know, from talking to a few close relatives.
Yeah. I mean, I'm getting to the point now after that last election and the 22, where why the fuck do I even bother?
I agree.
I think the revolution has started years ago.
Totally has. It
and
just
hasn't. I think the guy that sang the song, you know, the revolution will not be televised.
Yeah.
You know, he was talking about race, but I believe it was cultural Marxism that took hold in the late 80s, started through the 90s, and is now in your fucking face.
And the reason it was able to spread so easily is because it had a great vector with smartphones and social media.
And emotion.
Just like Alex Jones, I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob, as he said.
Really?
There's a mashup video of him going on some rant where he's saying...
was he sober?
It seemed like he was probably on a lot of speed, but he's like, I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. And then he goes into a rant about how he's talking about, I'm telling you, I'll string my neighbor up right now. I'm going to string him up by his feet on a crane and cut him and gut him and eat him. You know, like.
I'll admit it. I will eat my neighbors. I'm not letting my kids die. I'm just going to be honest. My superpower is being honest. I've extrapolated this out, and I won't have to for a few years because I got food and stuff. But I'm literally looking at my neighbors now and going, I'm ready to hang them up and gut them and skin them and chop them up. And you know what? I'm ready. My daughters aren't starving to death. I'll eat my neighbors. See, my superpower is being honest. I'll eat your ass. I will. I'm Combat model, optimum self-sufficiency, probably the leader. The point is have you thought about that yet? Because I'm somebody that thought I could fix this, and I'm starting to think about having to eat my neighbors. You think I like sizing up my neighbor, how I'm going to haul him up by a chain and chop his ass up? I'll do it. My children aren't going hungry. I will eat your ass. And that's why I want the globalists to know. I will eat your ass first.
That's it. Yeah.
Well, hey, man. Things get fucking hairy enough that very well might happen. You know, read the Gulag of Archipelago or whatever it is.
I really think it's been this slow roll. And then, lately it's really spiked in our faces.
Yeah.
Because they have total control of the media, internet, because the internet died.
Yeah.
And they have total control of it.
Bubs, if they're going to make a move, it's going to be this November. And I hope I'm wrong.
We were predicting last year that Trump would be locked up. So now they're delaying a sentencing after the election.
Yeah. By a couple days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're doing that so he doesn't get a bump in the polls.
No.
Right.
Yeah. Well, they also need to hope that they decide a winner within, 24 hours, which I don't think will happen.
Well, you look at year 2000. That's when shit was going oury, man.
Yeah.
And the hanging chads.
Yeah. Well, that's where a lot of
Supreme Court had to intervene.
That's when voting machines they started going into electronic, tabulating.
Yeah.
And it's cost us. Yeah, man. So I feel like we've solved a great deal of problems so far today with this episode. What else you got, man?
Well, I got a reach out, not a reach around, but a reach out.
A reach out?
Yeah. From Deb.
Deb, the pull tabber?
Yeah. She's doing well.
Good to hear, man.
She got a 202 the other day.
A 202.
Yeah.
Did she buy the round of rum and coke?
Nope. But she indicated that she was 80 large when she went back to her abode.
Holy shit.
So she was happy. Not large like 1,000, but $80 up.
$80 up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Happy.
Not bad, man.
And that's including, drinks and
that
a
ain't bad.
meal and tabbing. And then Dan from Pequot, he sent me a DM about some fishing stuff. So
no
it's pretty
shit.
cool.
Yeah. He's a hell of a gambler.
Yeah, he is. He's a degen.
That guy's got his shit together, man.
Yeah.
Good for those two. Congratulations, guys.
That's the salt of the earth right there.
Hell yeah.
And then what I got is, 9/11. You can't forget that.
I agree. Yeah.
And that happened shortly after a contested election.
Yeah. Hey.
Huh? And then things got weak.
I think there's something big on the horizon. And I hope it's not
October surprise.
I hope it's not a sleeper cell of dudes from Haiti that are preparing to eat my fucking dog. Because I'm not going to be able to. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to handle that one.
The October surprise are hordes of Haitians killing Canadian geese.
Yeah.
What are you going to do about it? But hey, don't forget 9/11, Castor Volor, John Saxon, aliens. Let's do it.
Thanks again, Bubs, for the show. Great coffee, great conversation as usual, and we'll see you again real soon.
Boy, it felt like putting on an old glove coming back into the studio. Bubs is out.